A very warm welcome to you. You know, we're about to dive into a really powerful story from the Quran, one that gets to the heart of a timeless connection, the one between what we believe in our hearts and how we actually behave out in the world, especially in the marketplace. It's the story of a prophet named Shu'aib, and it poses a question that is just as real for us today as it was thousands of years ago.
So, can you, really think about it. Is it possible to build a wall between your spiritual life and your professional, economic life? Well, this ancient story argues pretty forcefully that no, you absolutely can't. And how it makes that case is what we're going to explore together right now.
All right, so let's jump in. Our story starts in a land called Midian. Now, on the surface, these people were doing great. They were successful traders, prosperous business people. But underneath all that success, there was this deep, deep corruption. So, to guide them back, God sent them a prophet from among their own people, Shu'aib. Now, check this out. Shu'aib's very first message combines two things that we might think are totally separate. He tells them to worship God alone, and then, in the very same breath, he commands them to stop cheating people in the market, to give full, honest measure and weight. That link is so intentional and so powerful. It's saying your business ethics are a direct reflection of your faith.
And this all goes back to a huge core concept called Tawheed. It's the belief in the absolute oneness of God. And what that means is that this single unifying principle should touch every single part of your life. So for Shu'aib, shortchanging a customer wasn't just, a bad business practice, it was a theological problem. It was a direct contradiction of a belief in one just God.
And here is his warning. He doesn't deny their success. He actually says, I see you in prosperity. But right after that, he points out the danger. He's saying, look, all this wealth is making you complacent. It's blinding you to the moral rot that's setting in. He's afraid that if they don't change course, a total collapse is coming.
So, how did the people react to this? You think they might listen, right? Well, instead of even thinking about his words, they just responded with pure dismissal and sarcasm. This quote right here tells you everything. They're mockingly asking him, so your prayers are telling us to abandon our traditions? And telling us we can't do whatever we want with our own money? They're basically saying, hey, my religion is my business and my money is my business. Keep them separate. They're using tradition and economic freedom as a shield for their unjust practices. But look at Shu'aib's response. He doesn't get angry, he's not defensive. It is just calm, principled, and so humble. He makes it clear, my goal isn't to control you or ruin your society. He says its only intention is reform, and he puts all his trust in God for the outcome.
The specific word he uses for reform is islah. It literally means to correct something, to restore it to its proper, just order. It's the exact opposite of corruption. And this really defines his whole approach. He's not some revolutionary trying to tear everything down. He's a reformer, trying to build a better, more just community from the inside out.
Okay, so his appeal to reason and faith didn't work, but Shu'aib doesn't give up. He just switches tactics. He escalates his argument by basically telling them, fine, just look at the past. Learn from history. He starts listing off other communities that came before them, the people of Noah, of Hud, of Saleh, of Lot. He's implying that every single one of them went down a similar path of corruption and met a very similar tragic fate. He's basically using history as a moral laboratory, showing them that the consequences of this kind of injustice are frankly predictable. And yet, and this part is so crucial, even after that incredibly stern warning, he offers them a way out. It's a clear two-step path. First, istighfar. Seek forgiveness for everything you've done. And second, repentance. Actually turn back to God in your actions from this point forward. The message is clear. The door to mercy is always, always open. But the people of Midian just rejected this offer of mercy. And now we get to the real climax of the story, where all their sarcasm and mockery hardens into straight-up threats of violence. Their response just reveals everything about their broken moral compass. Think about what they're saying. The only reason you're still alive, Shu'aib, is because of your family's status. It had nothing to do with his message or his character or the truth. It was all just about tribal politics and social power. Shu'aib's reply to this is just devastatingly brilliant. He asks a question that cuts right to the heart of their spiritual sickness. Wait, so is my family more important to you than God himself? He completely exposes how upside down their priorities have become. And with that, the debate is over. Shuaib takes this firm, confident stance. He's essentially saying, all right, I've said what I needed to say. You do your thing, I'll do mine. Now we'll just watch and wait to see what the consequences are. It's this calm confidence of someone who has done their duty and now trusts that justice will take its course. And so the story moves to its inevitable, dramatic conclusion. It shows us exactly what happens when a society absolutely refuses to reform itself.
The final outcome was just stark. When the judgment finally came, a clear line was drawn. Shuaib and the believers with him, they were saved by God's mercy. But the people who insisted on their corruption, they were hit with a sudden catastrophe, left as silent corpses in the very homes where they felt so safe and prosperous.
The Quran uses this incredibly haunting phrase to describe what was left. All their wealth, their bustling markets, their fancy buildings, it was all wiped away so completely, it was as if it had never even been there to begin with.
And that right there is the ultimate lesson. A society that builds its prosperity without any principles, it's like a house built on sand. It's just not meant to last. The civilization of Midian was completely erased, and their story became this timeless warning about what happens when you try to separate what you believe from how you live.
And that leaves us with this final question to really think about. It's a question that echoes from the ruins of Midian all the way to our world today. In our own lives and in our own communities, what is the foundation of our prosperity? And when it's all said and done, what kind of legacy is it going to leave behind? Thank you so much for joining me.